Crystal Talk Show. J to the Crystal to the every Monday, and then you'll know. J to the Crystal to the guest every week. Talk about everything. J to the Crystal to the J to the Crystal to the J to the Crystal to the. Tune in to the best room talk show. J to the Crystal to the every Monday, and then you'll know. J to the Crystal to the guest every week. Talk about everything. Tune in to the best room talk show. Every Monday, and then you'll know.
Hey, you guys, welcome to the Bedroom Talk Show. And today we're talking about a very important topic. I don't know if you guys know, we are celebrating Domestic Violence Awareness Survivors this month. This is the month, that's why I went purple this month. It's because of the domestic violence. And we have so many victims every year that die. This topic is so important to me. I know a close friend dealing with it currently, and I felt that this topic was super important, and hopefully we can inspire one person to leave their situation. So I'm gonna kick it off with Ask Miss Logan, and everybody can ask the same question. My question is, tell me your survivor story.
Well, in a nutshell, when you look at domestic violence through my eyes, it has been something that was cycled from generation to generation in my family. As I grew older, I learned that both parents had experienced it in their lives, with seeing it with with their parents or with someone in their own personal relationship, and all of their children ended up going through it. I can remember back as early as a little bit younger than 2 years old. My dad hitting my mom at like a bowling alley, and I kind of can vividly remember some of that, and different things like that. And for me, I think that at some point down the line, it normalized itself. And I guess I thought that it was like a normal part of relationships, because as I continued to grow older and date and deal with men on my own, it definitely was a part of my life. Early in my early grade school relationship, I can remember like going through domestic stuff in like 8th grade, and my boyfriend was like, we arguing and he throwing garbage cans and all type of stuff, and like while we in the middle of the street, and my friends witnessing this stuff, and we all kids, so like it was what they gonna do, but nobody's realizing like this is not like normal, this is crazy. Well, yeah. And then growing into high school and things like that, in that age realm, there were a lot of scenarios where domestic violence was very much so a part of my life. And didn't learn and realize that when you allow people to talk to you a certain way, when you allow people to mentally abuse you, that's the beginning stages of the domestic violence, where it's like physically happening. It was definitely some learned behavior that I would attribute to seeing it with my parents first.
Because you started growing up, it was generational.
Yes.
Well, I'm happy that you got out. Hearing your story, I'm pretty sure a lot of people can resonate with that. I'm pretty sure a lot of guys who unfortunately are women that are the abuser could probably say, I've seen my parents doing that growing up, and I thought that was normal, and I thought that was okay. If I love you, I can put my hand on you. You're my property. property, and that's type of, I mean, you're raised in that environment. That's not something you just wake up one day and say, I'm gonna start beating her, or I'm gonna start hitting him, or whatever the case may be, or I'm gonna start talking down to her or him, because we do have men that do go through this as well, that don't speak up enough.
Hello.
Absolutely.
Precious, thank you. What is your transformation survivor story? Well, oh,
Chris, yeah, I
me.
lost the question.
Okay. What is your transformation survivor story?
Woo, child. My transformation story is pretty much that I didn't even realize that I was in a domestic abusive situation until very, very, very late in life. And for me, the transformation story is that it took me to meet and be introduced into what actual love is and what it's supposed to feel like, to really start doing the groundbreaking work and realizing that, wow, I was in abusive relationships, several. But like how, same thing Antoinette said, like when you are birthed into that environment, you think it's a part of the norm. Like if a person doesn't act this way or doesn't say this or doesn't treat you that way, they don't really love you. And it took me a long time to realize and understand the complete opposite. And that's not what love feels like. That is a sense of control. And it just be crazy stuff that, like I said, I've been exposed to it as early as I could remember, taking my first two steps. And it was on both ends. Like I would see men abused. And my family is predominantly women. And I've seen this and been in those relationships where I've been a product of the domestic abuse. And for me, it just was when I started doing my groundbreaking work, which was very late. I had to love me first. And I realized that I didn't love myself that much. I really didn't. I thought I did, but internally, I didn't like who I was. I didn't like a lot of the experiences I had. And I was just kept myself trapped in this cycle. I just kept doing the same thing and meeting the same people. And, you know, us as women, us as bearers and nurturers, we feel like we got to save everybody. Well, baby, I don't want to save nobody else unless they are part of my tribe. I don't want to save no men. Let him keep him. Whatever he got going on, I can't save him. But like I said, for me, the transformation was just really loving myself and wanting more, and then realizing that I deserve more. And that those experiences, that's not normal. That is not love. And it's funny because it took me a long time to escape certain situations, because you think that is it. Like this is the best, the cream of the crop. And I'm like, wow, I was really scratching the bottom of the barrel. And I don't know, just where I am right now in life is like, I just want to, any platform that I can speak on and share my experiences, because I don't want people to feel trapped. Like this is the only way, this is what love looks like, because it doesn't. Life is so beautiful on the other side, right? But us sharing our messages is going to help, you know, other women or other men realize that it's something greater on the other side. So that's my story. I'm Precious and I'm out.
Amen. You know what? What I want to say to you was never too late. You, like, God put you through all of that for a reason. You felt like you started late. No, you started on time, and God's timing. You started on time. My question to you is, what made you now?
Crystal, that was choppy.
I was like, wait. I feel like that was choppy, and I have all my bars. Let me re-ask my question. My question to you was, it was never too late, because what you went through is now you are inspiring others. Now you're creating business owners. Just
Crystal, we did not hear.
was I still choppy? You know what, y'all? For the last month, because the last month I'm doing my talk show for to next year. Do you guys know I have problems every week? And it's like all year I've been perfect. And now this.
Okay. So maybe I think you said, I don't know. Do you guys want to tell me what you think she said?
So I think I'm going to jump in here, Crystal. Hi, everyone. This is Lee. So I think, Precious, what she is trying to ask is, because you went through all of that experience, that you're never too late. It wasn't too late. It was just the right time, because now you have taken your experience and you have built a business into helping women go from 9 to 5 into entrepreneurs or business owners of themselves.
Yeah.
And so how did you make that transition? I'm going to totally assume that's what she's asking. Okay.
All right, let's run with it. So realistically, it was just me finally living life on my terms. Like, with the self-discovery process, you go through a lot, right? But when you start loving yourself and learning things about yourself, that was my moment. But I kept going through the thing of being frustrated because I wasn't a business owner. I didn't know the business side of things. But everything I went through, I just developed this amazing tribe, right? This people that are just influenced by me, or they receive great value from my experience. And I was like, okay, well, not only do I want to turn this into a business, but I know I ain't the only one. I am not the only one late at almost 40 years old discovering my purpose. So I wanted to help other people discover theirs, because this has been my best, and it's only going to get greater, but this has been like the best section of my life ever. And so many of us go to the grave with our talents and our desires, and we don't do anything with it. So I want to impact those women and help them realize that, baby, nobody clocking in no more. That's like out of style. Nobody punching time clocks no more. But then really helping them develop the mindset portion of it, understanding you deserve better, but you have to do the work so you can actually have more and live in abundance, because it's there. It's right at your fingertips. And I don't know. I'm just head over heels in love with life right now. I take it all. The tomatoes, the lemons, the paycheck.
So,
come on, Crystal. Let's try it again. Boo. Let's try it again.
I feel like God don't want me to have this not God, the devil don't want me to have this conversation, because oh my God, like I can't even say anything because they keep doing this.
That's why you have a pillar of support around you, so we can help you through it. We got you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, great. I removed the mic. So she did. Coach Lee did say exactly what I was trying to say. That's why it was funny. Exactly what she said, what I was trying to say, because your story was beautiful and you was never too late. You was never so.
Crystal, do this. Try this.
So,
turn off your camera and just use your microphone. I know that's not, but try that and see if it works. See if you just use your microphone and turn off your camera. Maybe. Okay.
Is that better?
We can hear you so far.
Okay. All righty. This has been.
No.
Miss Val, can you tell me your survivor story? I'm so sorry for the technical difficulties. I don't know what's going on with StreamYard. This is like the worst. I'm so sorry.
Yeah, I'm sorry about my not having my camera on. It kicked me out and then it wouldn't let me hear anything. So hopefully, can you guys hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So my story is a little bit different. I'd never.
This is terrible. But No, you
Sorry.
could talk. I can hear you now. I couldn't hear you at first.
Okay. So I never experienced domestic violence before. Not in my house, not in anybody else's. I knew it existed. I knew what it looked like. I just never experienced it. But I started dating someone. I don't even know if you call it dating then, but I was 14. And it just it was kind of subtle. It was little at first. It was just a little bit of words, a little bit of name calling here and there. And then just progressively got worse. Once I was exposed to his home life, I understood that that's what he grew up around. He was not an only child, but kind of seemed like it. He lived with his mother, and the partners that she chose were like that. And she stayed around for that. She stuck around and did whatever they wanted. And so he grew up thinking that that's the way that you get your partner to do what you want, and they'll stay and they'll do whatever you want anyway. And so that's what it was. A lot of it was verbal. A lot of it was mental, emotional. And then as we got older, it progressed into physical. He to this day will say that he never hit me, because no, he never cocked back or balled up his fist and hit me. But he put me in a chokehold before. He tried to break my wrist. I'm a student athlete, and so my wrist was my scholarship. So he still to this day have arthritis in my wrist. There's some other things that happened, but what it came down to was I felt like it was my responsibility to give him a life that was different than the one that he experienced. So just like you were talking about earlier, Miss Stevens is trying to save people, trying to be the one to make them feel better about the life that they had, and trying to give him a life that he wanted, but at this simultaneously didn't want it. For me, I guess, I don't know. But we were like fire and ice. And for me, I think it was the thrill of the passion on the in-between, the good side on the other side of the bad stuff. And because of my age, it was from 14 to 25, young and just loving the drama and not having anything else going on. I'm not trying to dismiss it or say that I'm responsible for it. But I did play my part. I did play my role in it. I just never, still to this day, I'm not in a position where I can just call somebody out of their name for no reason. That never made sense to me. And I know how it made me feel. And so I never wanted to make him feel the way that he made me feel when he did that. But the way that I was able to forgive him, it took me a long time, honestly. That was 10 years ago, and I'm still dealing with it, to be honest. He's in a new relationship, and I'm seeing him play a role in that new life that we had planned together, I guess. And I'm dealing with the grieving of the life that I thought we were going to have. And as much as I didn't and still don't want it to be with him, it's still the life that we planned, and I'm watching him live it with someone else and thinking that he didn't deserve that because of what he put me through. Like, I deserved that happy ending, and watching him get that, dealing with that and trying to not still attach myself with the words and the titles and the labels he gave me. He would say stuff like, nobody's ever going to want you for anything other than what's between your legs, and you're not worth anything, and nobody's going to love you like I do. You're going to be alone, all those things. And to see some of those things be my reality, but for different reasons. I had to do a lot of rebuilding. I had to figure out who I was again. I had to learn how to love myself again. I had to change the labels for myself and look at myself in the mirror and be able to say the things that are true and remember who I am and whose I am. And I didn't want to walk into another relationship broken. I didn't want to walk into a relationship expecting somebody else to put me back together. I wanted to go into a relationship whole so that I can find a partner that's whole, because I did that. I tried to save somebody. I tried to put them back together. That doesn't work. And it's hard to pour out of a cup that's empty. And I don't want somebody that's expecting that of me. There's always going to be times, I know that, your partner's going to need that from you, but I don't want a partner that expects it from me, no matter how I feel or what I'm going through. They're expecting me to fill their cup all the way up, and they get to walk out the door and leave me empty. So there was just a lot that went on that I'm still working through on the day-to-day. Just just triggering things. Like suicide is something that's triggering to me because he attempted suicide a couple of times and blamed me, wrote letters and everything, blamed me. So that's something I'm super sensitive about as well. And so I want to be in a relationship where I can be open and we can have conversations. And so my expectations are high, but my list isn't very long, if that makes any sense, for my next partner, just because the red flags that I wish I would have been paying attention to, or I wish I would have gave more weight to at the time, I can see that in people now. I dated somebody for a little bit who would call his ex the same names that my ex would call me. And I said, this isn't a train I'm going on, because I already know where this is going. I already know what's on the other side of this. And this is not what I'm going to do. And so it's a lot that I learned a lot from it. I don't regret it. I don't hate him for who he was or anything like that, because I learned a lot about myself. I learned a lot about what I deserve and what's out there. Good God, what is out there. But accepting people for who they are, and when they tell you who they are, when they show you who they are, believe them. Because at the end of the day, if you continue to allow somebody to be a certain way, then there's going to be a point where in your brain you start to justify it, and it becomes something that you deserve because, well, if you wouldn't have, done this, then he wouldn't have done that. And you become your own abuser in those situations, because then you start justifying every single thing that they do, every single thing that they say, because of what you should have done better or what you shouldn't have done. And that makes it even harder to get out, because the blame is not in the right place. And so that's what I learned. So again, I'm super grateful for it. I learned a lot about myself, and I'm still learning and growing through that experience, to be honest.
I get it. I get it. I was
Crystal, we can't hear you.
I wasn't talking. I was just looking at the camera.
Oh.
So I understand, because I've been through something similar. I was in a abusive relationship, but it was more of a verbal. It was very verbal. The things he would say to me, the way he would try to degrade me. Do you not know it took me? I'm so sorry for the technical difficulties tonight. I don't know what's going on. I'm gonna cut my camera off and see what works. But Val, like I said, I understand where you're coming from, because I've been through that. He didn't put his hand on me, but it took me to the lowest point of my life. That's when I became alcoholic. That's when I started. And I don't think nobody around me during that time realized I was hurting. And near the end, he ended up apologizing. Me and my verbal abuser, we talk every now and then, because he have apologized for his behavior back then. And I understand watching them grow with somebody else. I better for me.
Yeah, and he apologized a few times.
Denver, can you please tell us? He apologized?
Yeah, he did.
He apologized?
He did.
Sorry, I couldn't tell that.
It's okay. He did apologize several times, but it was more of a transactional apology. He wanted me to forgive him and take him back. And so instead of being in a position where we could just move on, it was, well, so when are we going to try again? We're not. So then it just started over. Well, you're this and you're that and you're this and you're that. So it never really ended. And honestly, like we have mutual friends. We grew up together, obviously. And I just met his new significant other 2 weeks ago. And he blew up my inbox because I spoke to her. And it wasn't out of, bitter ex. It was just,
Wow.
there was only 3 of us in the room. Am I not supposed to talk to her? So I did. And, he reminded me, what he thought about me. I'm a worthless this and I'm a dumb that. So it is what it is. That's just the way it is. And I accept it. I moved on from that because I can't spend my life waiting for it to be something else. It's just that we will never be friends. We will have to coexist because we do have mutual friends. But that's it. That's all.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you can hear me because I was talking, but I'm sorry you went through that. But you know what? Me and your story is relatable, and I'm pretty sure other women is relatable to them as well. Miss Denver, can you tell us your
Yes.
story
Yeah.
as well?
Yes. Yes, ma'am. Hi, everyone. I'm Denver. My story is with a person that I went to school with, elementary, middle school. We dated, and his background was very bad. He would call himself Sin. When I told my parents I was dating him, they were like upset, like, his name says it all. But I kind of ignored it and just, trying to see the good in him and trying to make excuses for someone that I've been knowing since a kid. Like at first it was the verbal abuse, calling me names, but also like he was very possessive. And he was my first boyfriend. So being that possessive, I didn't understand at first. It was like, well, I would make excuses for how crazy he would be. Like he would come places and do things that were extreme. Wherever I'm at, he would, just stalk me. He would do just crazy stuff, and I'd make excuses. But as we got older, it became very physical, very physical. And I'm the type of person I've always had. I'm passive. I used to be, because I'm not passive. This experience has taught me to definitely not be passive and to see things for exactly who it is. Another thing was my downfall is my dad is a preacher, so I was definitely into forgiveness and I forgive him. So he really played on, how I was raised and also the life, how long we knew each other. Well, anyways, long story short, I actually was left at the hospital, and I wear braces today because my mouth was wired. I have a permanent black eye. He called me up. He told me, hey, my mom needs help now because I grew up with this guy. Know his family, so I was tricked. So I did go down to check on his mom to give her supposedly a ride to the hospital. When I got there, his mom was nowhere in sight. And I'm married. I've been with my husband for over 22 years. And at this time, this is about 8 years ago. No, about 10 years ago, excuse me. And so I went somewhere knowing that I had no business going around this person. And I got there and he was like hysterically like we need to be together. He had my divorce papers drawn up. And I'm sorry, guys. I'm like, this is my first time really sharing outside of counseling, because I did take counseling for what I went through. I also stayed in a domestic violence shelter and moved state. So I did everything necessary to get out of the situation I was presented myself with. At the time, my husband, he was away and on a fire, he worked for a fire team and they were doing a national fire. So of course I had no business trying to help someone or even going to, even being tricked into that situation. But when I got there, he had my divorce papers and I was like, this is kind of crazy. And that's all I remember saying. I woke up in the hospital and I couldn't really remember what happened. He did get in trouble for the stuff he did, but I really didn't remember what happened to me. I just remember coming to and police officers asking questions. He kind of just left me, but he did tell the hospital staff that he found me and some other people had beaten me. And so when I came to and realized that, where I was prior, days later, I went in and made a statement. And he didn't get in as much trouble. They did offer him a really good deal. But the experience was tough because, for one, it was like I was so mad at myself because there it was. Here I put myself in a position to trust someone, the history, knowing that people, they are who they are, and some people are incapable of changing. And also he had like mental health illness. He was bipolar. So like the abuse was amongst that day, verbal abuse, but that day was just the day that my life completely changed. I had to go home to my family and children with my mouth wired and explain to them where I had been because I was in the hospital and no one, really thought to check for a hospital. So I just popped up with, all these bruises. I have my eye was split, so I have a permanent black eye. My mouth was wired, and my chest was bruised. It's pretty crazy. But after all this, I went into a shelter because he knew where I lived. So I went into a shelter and kind of told my family everything that was going on. And I just felt I kept being, hard on myself because, how could you let yourself get in this situation? But also, I never told anyone like the stuff he would do. Like this dude would choke me out and I'd wake back up and he'd be like, oh, I'm so sorry. Like crazy stuff. And I just kind of just hid things from my family. But when I got away, and I should have never, put myself back in that position. Well, another thing I'm dealing with is I'm still healing from all of this because just recently he actually is dead. He got killed. He beat his baby mother, I think 3 days before his birthday on the the exact same street that he beat me on. And she, I don't know what happened, but he did hurt her pretty bad and she put him out. And then later that night, he was killed. And so everyone called me and told me, hey, he's no longer here. And I really didn't know how to feel. I still haven't really processed it. I'm still healing. But the one thing that I want to say the most that I learned is the fact that my children. Even though they did not have the opportunity to see me go through this stuff, they had to see me heal. So just with domestic violence, I'm a huge advocate of mental health. Mental health is so important, but also not being afraid to get help. I had to I had to take a swallow, the truth, and just, I had to put myself in a domestic violence shelter. So I actually went into almost like hiding. While I was there, he went in my house and damaged it, tossed everything around, took stuff, damaged my house. When I moved out, I had to repair these people's house, but he just caused me so much grief that I did not want him to die. I would have rather had him suffer. So I'm still processing. I definitely am still processing, but from just that, I created the Denver Bossing Up. That's how Denver Bossing Up really came into creation, was about 5 years ago, after healing, after the therapy, learning how to get angry. I'm so calm that I'm not an angry person. I don't pay attention to stuff. I don't get angry. So it was the moment that I knew that it was okay to get angry. And therapy had me throwing glasses on the ground and dealing with my anger. But the most important thing was to go through those emotions that we suppress. But my story, I was actually selected for Denver, Colorado. My case was the main case that was selected for domestic violent groups with the police department, because it was a unique situation. I really allowed a person to victimize me for many years, and half the time he wasn't even my boyfriend. We weren't even together. So it's been 10 years, and he just passed away in May. So every day is a processing. Like this right now, I was hesitant. Antoinette was like, "Yes, you come, please join us," and I was a little hesitant because I really haven't spoke. I spoke in groups, small groups, but I just really haven't bottled all my words up and processed my words to get it out. But I definitely know that through this, my ultimate goal is to help other women, but help children, because I wasn't a woman when I met this guy. I was a child. And so I guess that's my story. And
Denver, do you feel that he groomed you and you
oh,
just,
absolutely.
you said yes? Because I heard he was a child, and I'm assuming he was older.
Yeah.
Based on your story.
Yeah, he's older.
He was older.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I want to say, number one, I'm proud of you for opening up about your story. That's number one. But what was your experience in the domestic violence shelter? Because we see him all the time. I try to donate to him, but it's kind of hard to donate to him because it's so anonymous.
Right.
So what was your experience living in violence shelter?
I was in Colorado. I was in the mountains, and I stayed there for a total of almost 2 months. The experience is, you go in. My actual therapist, my therapist actually called and got me a bed, because I was talking to her, and she said what concerned her is that I wasn't upset. and that I wasn't recognizing that I was not in a safe situation. Here I am in her office with my mouth wired, still going home to the same house. and and I lived far from my family. My family, they all stayed in Aurora, and in the city. I stayed in the mountains. I was secluded. So that was another thing, being isolated. So she was worried, me being isolated, and me being isolated and him knowing where I'm at, and the police don't have custody of him. So she was like, would you be willing to go into a shelter? And I was a little hesitant because, like, I don't know, it's just like my family, my parents, that's my dad, the disappointment of me putting myself through this. So she's like, no, don't worry, it's very private, and it was very private. Like, cell phones were very strict in there. I mean, the privacy of people was important. And once I got in there, I agreed, and I drove out there, me and my kids. I had a meeting with the kids and explained to them what was going on. And so they agreed. My two oldest kids actually went to stay with their family, and my two youngest agreed to come with me. So when I got into the shelter, that's when I realized that that I had a problem. Like, it was hard for me to say I was abused and victimized. Sorry, ladies. I'm sorry.
It's okay. This is your story. Let it out. Shed it. Inspire somebody. It's okay.
So the shelter, they take you in. It's an intake. It's very private. They get your information. They also partner with the police in intake. So sorry, guys.
You're doing a beautiful job. Let me let you in on something. It was hard for me to say I was around for over 10 years. Yeah, that was hard for me to say for a very long time. It, like, to this day, I stopped the blaming, because I understand that's a process that us victims and survivors do. We start to, like, throw blame back at ourselves. It took me over a decade, and I opened up about that last year. Not fully, but enough that people know I'm a victim, and I'm okay. So it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel how you feel. Nobody can tell you how to feel when it comes to your story and what happened to you. So
Thank you. I really appreciate that. But the shelter experience was actually really good because they have counseling set up. They have the group therapy, the individual. It was a very intense program that I was in, just due to the history and the case and all that. So the program, and it was up to you though, if you wanted to participate, but I knew that I needed help. I knew that because the things that, I've been through, I wanted to get healed. I wanted to get better, and I definitely wanted to be good for my girls and my children. So I went to all their programs, but they make you responsible. Like, you have a curfew. They make you responsible of chores. You have your own space. No one's really allowed in your room. You can't really be in each other's room. So that gives each woman and her children, if she's there with her children, time to, heal and spend the time that they need to process and things of that sort. So it was like a really strict, but it was in a nice location. I mean, they had different programs. They did different things. At the time, I used to do hair. So I like volunteered and created a spa night and catered to all the ladies in the building, and my kids were helping me, and it was like an experience that um, it was an experience that was definitely needed for me to heal. I don't think that I would have been able to come out healthy had I have not placed myself into the counseling and the therapy, and it was intense, and I had to show up for myself. But
I love that part. You just see you had to show up for yourself. Oh my God. Your story. I've seen a comment saying, wow, amazing. Thank you for
thank you. But I do want to let you know there is women in there though. Like there was like situations where like I don't know, like some of us how strong we are, just how we make it out of things, but it's like hard. It's hard to realize that someone you love is unhealthy. Like boundaries was the main thing. That was my big thing. Boundaries and being more assertive and stop being passive. So those were my things.
I am struggling with boundaries now, and I'm working on this. I understand. So
I don't play now. I don't play.
I am working on it in therapy as we speak. I have to talk about this tomorrow with my therapist. Coach Lee, I know you've been so patient. Can you tell me your story? And good, guess what, y'all? My audio work now.
I see. Yay. Yeah, so I just first want to acknowledge all the ladies who went before me. So, our stories are similar but different, and some of the things that we've learned over the course of this journey, they are very similar. It's, just highlighting a couple where it was, we had to rediscover who we are, right? We had to stop living based on the expectations of other people. We had to remove the labels that others have placed on us and the ones we place on ourselves. That is the basis of what I do today. And those lessons came from my experience with domestic violence. So my story is similar to some of the other ladies. My mother, God rest her soul, she has passed away due to ALS a few years ago, but I grew up watching her being abused by her boyfriends. I remember one, he was a firefighter. He was from Philadelphia. I was like 4 or 5 at the time. He was the coolest guy ever, from what everyone else would tell me. And I remember watching him chase her around the car outside with a knife in his hand, threatening to kill her as I'm screaming on the side, crying. I remember in 6th grade coming home and my mother trying to hide her face because her mouth was busted open and she had a black eye from a boyfriend that, he had beat her up for, whatever reason. I don't even know if he needed a reason. It was just something, that she had experienced. And so I watched this happen and I swore to myself I would never be in that situation. I was stronger than that. I would never let a man put his hands on me. I was 19. I was in the U.S. Marine Corps. I was in love, I thought. He was sexy. He was handsome. He drove a 6'4" light blue Impala. It was like the guy to be with, and he chose me. And so in my mind, I was like, wow, this is perfect, right? He's mine. Of all these women who want him, I'm the one who was lucky enough to get him. And then it started, right? It was the belittling of me. It was the demeaning. It was the chipping away at my self-esteem. It was the comparisons of me to other women. It was the, you stay at home while I go out. It was the other women. It was all of that. And so it was the emotional abuse that started first. And I remember, I'm old enough to remember, some of you may not be, but they used to have Freaknik in Atlanta. So he was from Atlanta, from High Point, Georgia, or just outside of Atlanta. And I remember one year he went to Freaknik, and someone told me that he took another woman down to Freaknik. So I called his mother. I called his mother's house and I said, I want to speak to him. And she said, honey, you are embarrassing him. You need to not call here. You need to leave him alone, and you are embarrassing him. He will call you when he's ready. Now just imagine, I'm young. I'm like 20 at this point, right? I have a small child, and I have no support. Not only is he being emotionally abusive, but his mother is like, who are you? Even though I'm married to this man, basically don't call my house because he's out with his side piece. And so just imagine how that chipped away at my confidence and my self-esteem and who I thought I was. And then he came home and I confronted him. And that was the first time. That was the first punch. That was the first time he wrapped his arms, his hands around my neck. And I remember thinking, how is this happening to me? How did I get here? How did I allow myself to get in this situation, right? Some of you ladies have said that before. How did I allow myself to get here? I'm stronger than this. This shouldn't be happening to me. All these things are going through my head as he's systematically punching me in the face. And my young son is watching this. And I'm trying to hide it. I remember walking to, I was a little cheerleading coach for little Pee Wee League cheerleaders. And I remember going to the field, and one of the other coaches was there who was also a Marine. And she looked at me and she said, "What's wrong with your face?" And I was like, "Oh, nothing. You know what? I can't stay. I'm going to leave." So for a whole year, I protected him. I protected what he was doing to me. I would hide my face. I would wear the makeup. I wasn't fooling anybody. Until, it all kind of really came to a head one night where it was again over, him just being cruel and mean and horrible to me. And I told him to get out. I was like, that's it. I'm done. That's it. But that also, I think, he was not going to allow me to dictate to him how this relationship was going to end. And he beat me so bad as my young son was standing there begging him to stop hurting his mommy. He had a butcher knife from our kitchen. I was cowering on the floor against the wall, the closet, and he's slamming the knife down into the closet near my head, telling me that he was going to kill me as I'm begging for my life and I'm begging for the life of my child. And I don't know what stopped him. I don't know why he left, but he did. He got up and he left the house. And I tell this story is that I literally had to decide to get up off the floor. I had to decide to stand up. I had to decide to grab my son, and I had to call the police, the military police, to come and do something because I had had enough. If I didn't stop him then, he was going to kill me. And I could not allow that to happen. And so what's so funny, I remember this, is that because again, I'm in the Marine Corps, my master sergeant, because I pressed charges, my master sergeant called me into the office and he says, "Do you really want to ruin his career? Do you really want to press charges against him? Because this could stop his career. And then what? It's just these things happen between a husband and a wife. Do you really want to ruin his career? And my answer was abso-freaking-lutely. Yes, I do. You can be angry all you want, but you weren't the one being threatened and hit and punched and, you know, a knife coming down at your head and your child pleading for that man not to kill his mommy. Absolutely, I'm going to press charges. But I found, you know, during that process, I realized sometimes us women, all we have is ourselves. It was my strength that made me get up off of that floor because I had to protect myself and my son. Denver Boss Up, I don't know if you actually said your first name, but it was your strength who allowed you to know that you had to recover. And it doesn't matter how long it took. It does not matter how long it took because you got there, right?
Yeah.
And for us, sometimes we forget, we live this life and we forget who we are. We forget that we are whole women, whole persons, and we don't need that other validation from our life partner. And we get caught up because it's not overnight. That's the thing that I have come to recognize, is that it didn't happen overnight. This was a systemic effort by him, a systemic campaign to demean me and bring me so low that at the time when he threw that first punch, I felt I had nowhere to go. So, you know, for me, it took me a journey. It took me a while to talk about it, because when I did talk about it and tell people what happened, I would hear, but you were a Marine, girl. Why didn't you just fight back? But you were strong. Why didn't you just fight back? Oh, if I was a Marine, I wouldn't have let that happen to me. So I shut up about it. I stopped talking about it because there was shame in it, because other women, men, whomever, would try to shame me for being in that situation. And so I stopped talking about it. And what I realized is that by not talking about it, I was proving them right, that I was ashamed of myself and what I had experienced and what I had gone through. But the more I talk about it, the more I know it needs to be said. I know there are not only all of us here in this session tonight, but others who are watching and listening. There are other women who are not talking about it because they think they're ashamed to what has happened to them. And I'm here to tell you that there is no shame in what you have experienced. That trauma has given you the power to get up off the ground and start over again. Val, I hear your pain of what you are going through. Sweetheart, he is not the last person who is ever going to love you. And that type of love is what you do not need. Yes, we have to love ourselves. And I had to learn that over the years. That is why I talk freely about it whenever I can. People say, oh my gosh, why do you talk about it? Because I am no longer staying silent about it. I have to talk about it. And so I did recover. I did go through that process, and it was painful, and I didn't trust for a long time. Now, I've been with my husband, my current husband. He and I have been together for 24 years. So there is a way you can get to the other side, and the other side is beautiful and it is amazing, and you can achieve so much. Like part of my recovery was writing books. I have written and published 49 romance novels because that is how I felt I needed to get to the others. I needed to see that someone could get their happily ever after. And if I wasn't necessarily going to get it, I started writing it when I was recovering, when I was by myself. I had relocated. I started writing romance novels because I needed to see that happily ever afters could happen, right? Even if I had to create it in my head. I hope I'm not frozen. So, but you know, I wrote romance novels because that was a way for me to recover. And you know, now, like I said, I have 49 books that I published. And I made a decision on how I was going to go in my career and that I was going to succeed. And so I climbed the corporate ladder and I got the C-suite title. And then it was like, you know what? There is more to this life than the C-suite title. And now it's my time to give back. And how do I do that? I tell my story. I tell my story. I share what I've gone through. And I help other women see that, you know, just the experience that you've gone through is not the end. It's just one piece of your life. It's just one portion. But you have a whole lot of life. You have, you know, 1,000,000 minutes, 1,000,000 plus infinity, right, of life yet to live. And so, yes, it hurts and it is painful. And I still think about it. Even as I talk about it, I think about what I went through. But it doesn't stop me. It doesn't define me. And it doesn't define anyone who's watching or listening or any of us here. You take that pain, that hurt, and you channel it into something so much greater than what you ever thought you could be. And, you know, being a domestic violence survivor is a sisterhood that I don't necessarily want anyone to be in with me, but we are here, right? We are part of this sisterhood, whether or not we want to be or not. But you see the success stories around you, and that's what I've tried to use my story to foster. Is yes, there was a time where I was so low, I didn't even know who I was anymore. And I had to reclaim my power. I had to rediscover who I was. I had to begin to use my voice again, because I promised myself that I would never be in that situation again. Just because we went through it once doesn't mean we have to go through it again. Just because we experienced it doesn't mean we have to live our life in that state. We can move beyond it. We can. It takes time, right? But we can get there. And so, you know, all of your stories have inspired me. I've been sitting here and I've been listening, and you all are so amazing. And I just, you know, I'm thankful that I'm on this stage with all of you and I'm able to share my story with you. So thank you, Crystal, for having me here. This has been great.
You're so welcome. And I'm sorry you was re-victimized by telling your story. And it's crazy that anybody will ever say that to you. You was a Marine. Like, why you didn't fight back? Would you, like, I don't think people realize what they say, but then as I'm starting to like really be on my journey, I think people say hurtful things on purpose because they see your light and they want to hurt, they want to dim your light. That is what I'm starting to notice within myself and just in general. So I'm sorry you went through that whole experience, but I can see based on you talking, you're a great coach. I can see that.
Thank you.
This is my next question for all the ladies. You can go popcorn style. Give me one red flag that you feel like you missed. I'm gonna go first. I'm gonna say one red flag I miss is the degrading, making certain comments about what you wear, or you gonna like stuff like that. Degrading. Anybody can go popcorn style.
Well, I didn't know I missed it. There was a situation where he got in trouble and I was in the probation office with his mother, and his probation officer asked if there was any mental health issues. So she said, oh, well, I think he has bipolar. I have it, but he's never been diagnosed. I already knew he had ADHD, but I didn't know he was bipolar. And then later I found out, so he was bipolar, ADHD, and OCD at the same time. And he wasn't medicated, treated, nor did he acknowledge that he had any of them. And then one time he decided to medicate himself for the bipolar, but I found out then that he stole his mom's bipolar medication and used it as if it was his to get back into my house and in my life. So that is it. So unchecked and undiagnosed, untreated health is huge. And I think that before that, I had no idea how big of a deal mental health was. To me, it was just something that people said, or it was a way to get medication. I never really understood the gravity of mental health until that experience.
Okay. Next person. Just one red flag.
I would say being possessive. For me, I was fooled by that, and it made me feel like, oh, he's just so crazy about me. Well, now it's like a huge red flag if anyone is too possessive or clingy or so that is my number one red flag is the possessive, like too clingy or needy or addictive personalities, put it like that.
I agree. I literally blocked someone 5 months ago because he was giving me domestic violence vibes. And when I did my background check, he had a whole bunch of domestic violence charges. He dropped off flowers in my house twice unannounced. Yeah,
Yeah,
possessive.
stuff like that. That'll
But most
scare me.
women think it's cute. They don't see the flag. And I'm like, no.
I used to be that one. I used to be her that was like, oh, that's so cute. No, it's
No.
scary.
It's
Yeah.
not cute. Just pop up unannounced and give me flowers.
No.
No, ma'am.
No.
Precious, go. What is your one red flag?
A red flag for me, it's quite a few, but one of the most ones that stand out is if a person is in position to do something but don't. So for me, it's like a red flag is one of the biggest things with some of my most prominent relationships were a person not wanting me to reach my full potential in fear that I would leave. So it's so many things that people could have done, had the ability to do, but wouldn't because we got to keep her down here.
Gotcha. I understand that.
Right, because I was trying to word it, but that's like one of my biggest things. Like people that has the ability and just keep it to themselves or whatever the case may be, because I'm the complete opposite. I'm a giver. Like if I have access to anything, or even if I have knowledge, I'm going to show because my whole purpose is to help people grow. So like if someone's attached to me or even in my circle and I feel like that is not your purpose, that's a red flag. Also a simple, any kind of physical anything. Don't touch me. Don't be aggressive. Just don't even bring that kind of energy. That kind of energy for me now is that's a red flag because it only spirals out of control from there. I'm a big, no, we can't do that. It's no yelling, no name calling. I don't allow it. And now I think I'm in, having the life I have now because I no longer give people permission to treat me in any way that I don't see fit. I don't give permission no more.
Getting permission. See, I never go back to that boundary piece, and I love it. Okay, you don't get my permission. I love that. Miss Coach Lee.
Yeah.
What is one red flag?
So I have to go back to the demeaning words, minimizing your, trying to cut you low, making comments about you just to chip away at your self-esteem and how you perceive yourself so that you kind of curl into this ball. You curl into yourself because you don't want to be seen. So when you have someone and they just make those little cutting remarks, they're always got something to say. You always got something to say, but pay attention to that. When they always got something to say about you, when they always got a comment about you and it's a negative or compare you to somebody else, pay attention because to me, that is a red flag of that person just trying to diminish you and demean you and bring you down low. It's nefarious to me. It's nefarious. And so I definitely think that would be my one huge red flag.
Okay. Miss Logan, what is one red flag for you since you've been through that situation? I don't know. Is she talking? Everybody else I see. Miss Logan, I don't hear you.
What about now?
I can hear you now. You was mute.
Okay. Okay. I think I'm gonna have to go with like the emotional parts of it. The silent treatment, the parts where and it go that kind of goes to like what Precious said too, when they can do things but they don't, and it's like playing on your mental and your emotional, because it's like this is something you clearly could do to help me, but you won't. Or when there's a problem and it's something that needs to be discussed, but they'll give you the silent treatment and not talk about it because you want to. But then when they want to be the one to talk about something or control the situation, they expect you to be ready and Johnny on the spot when they say. So that whole controlling aspect, that don't work for me in no aspect. And that's one of the main reasons why I'm how I am, even as an entrepreneur and everything. Like, I am not a person that anybody can control in that way. In no way. Like, you cannot do that with me, because I cut your ass off quick, fast, in a hurry. I don't care who you are.
Okay. Wait, is she still talking?
Nope.
Okay, no, because just making sure, because now my audio working out. I am fine over here. I'm just double checking because it's been a rough night, you guys. Okay, so my next question is, what advice, and you can make it less than a minute, because I don't want to keep it all night. What advice would you give someone who needs to get out but is scared? My advice to somebody who needs to get out of a situation, even if it's verbal, make a plan, stick to it, and leave. That's my advice. And we forgot to say one thing: a major red flag in domestic violence, guys, is being isolated, or them letting you cut off your family and friends, and you're secluded, or you moving too far from your family. You can't talk to your family. That's the biggest red flag, y'all. Okay, I'm done talking. Anybody can go.
I would say it doesn't have to be a public thing. It doesn't have to be a block party, but you do need to find a couple of people or one solid person that you can confide in, because depending on the severity of your situation, the amount of conversation, like if you are isolated, the amount of conversation and the amount of communication you can have with somebody is going to be very limited. So you need to be able to get connection on the outside in order for them to be able to make the plan to help you get out. I did this for one of my best friends, and it was very hard because he already knew that I'm coming in here to save everybody. So he knew who I was and he knew what I was doing. We just had to do it in a time frame that I knew that we could make it happen. So my thing at the end of the day, I'm saying I make sure that you have someone that understands the severity of the situation and somebody who can connect you to the resources that you need to get you out. And there's a plan after that, and not just, okay, you're out of the house, now what? No, you need to have a place for them to go. If there's children involved, especially, you have to have somewhere for them to go that has the things that they're going to need on the other side of it, because they may walk out of the door with literally what they have on and nothing else. So it may take a little bit of time and planning, but you need to have somebody on the outside of your situation to get you out of there.
Yes. I didn't talk about this specifically, but one of my situations later on in life with domestic violence got me locked up in jail. And because I had already contacted the police and we had been through situations, and in the process of me trying to get out, it was imperative that I created a plan. So because I lived in an apartment building, I had to create like a code word that my neighbors knew that if they heard me saying this word, to contact the police immediately. And my word was, it's going to be a rainy day. And literally, they had to use that to get me to safety. And even then, I'm the one that went to jail. But it worked out, because that was ultimately what got me out of that situation. When I got out of jail from that situation, I literally was able to move around. So my whole point in saying this is to give people, your neighbors, your friends, whoever's close by that can hear you in your home, you should definitely think about some type of code word that people around you, even if they not like personal, they can recognize that you need help, because you're not always going to be able to say the word help and get help. You know, sometimes when you use words like help and call the police, they go crazy even more on you, trying to hurt you to get you to shut up. So definitely have you a code word and have a plan and a bag packed that you can move around quickly if need be.
I'm hop in there. I would my advice is be honest with yourself. Don't make excuses for behavior that is unacceptable. The most important is to be honest. Also, recognizing and setting those boundaries and red flags when you see them, knowing when to break away, not allowing yourself to get into a situation to where it's not saying it's too late, but you spent too much time there. It is definitely, if immediately, if you see these red flags, I think that you should exit a situation or a relationship. But the most important is to be honest with yourself and not to be as hard on yourself, knowing that there is help out there and not being scared to seek it. But also having a bag packed and ready, an exit plan, being prepared to leave if you are in a situation to where it's hard for you to get away. Having your things where you can easily grab and go. But most importantly, having the plan, but also having support. Even if it's small support, or there's so much resources now for domestic violence. So I would just say, also reach out to your local domestic violence. There's domestic violence support for women, some of your domestic violence centers, things of that sort. You can anonymously seek help, but be honest with yourself is the most important thing.
I think that's a good answer, to be honest with yourself. I know we all pretty much said have a plan, but to be honest with yourself is probably going to be the hardest thing to do. Like, because you already being yourself up being in that situation. Like,
but it's when I say be honest in a way that you're looking out for yourself. Be honest in a way that is motherly, loving for you. That if it's not like, because when you're in a domestic violence situation, 9 out of 10, you're making an excuse for this person's behavior, or 9 out of 10, you're ignoring it and you're not being completely honest. So when I say be honest, it's not, don't be hard on yourself. No, because know that everybody, we find ourselves in situations. Domestic violence just doesn't start with a relationship. It could be a friendship. It could be family. Abuse can happen anywhere. But you have to be the person to be honest enough with yourself to say, oh, wait a minute, this is enough. Because, not being passive. Maybe I take honest away and say, don't be so passive.
okay. I love that answer. I think Miss Precious, you didn't go yet?
No, I mean, I kind of really say the same thing that the other lady said. Main thing is, when I was in my situations, I wasn't honest with myself. I thought that, it was just normal. But then when situations escalate to where you're getting hit with cars and things like that, it's embarrassing. So you are trying to cover these things up. But then if you don't have the support, I mean, you don't have to go and yell it to the mountaintop, but at least having someone that really understands and knows what's happening. Because if you don't have that kind of support, you could go run away. I ran away several times. They came and found me. Matter of fact, my family will push me back. Girl, he love you. No, he don't. So it's like you definitely have to have that support place in place and just have an exit plan. I've always created my exit plans quietly by myself. Like no one knew I was leaving until they saw the truck pull up. So definitely having an exit plan and just realizing that you deserve more, you deserve better. But one thing I want to say, Antoinette, like one thing you said, which I wish I knew that back then, because the code word, that is such a great tip. Because even back then when I was like staying in an apartment, it's so common for couples to fight or have, you know, those powwows. But some of those times I really wanted help, but then people wouldn't listen, like, oh, it's just, you know, oh, they just had another fight. No, like I'm in here getting my damn leg broke. I really needed help. So I really like that tip about having a code word and having someone that can identify with that code word that's reachable. And you know, that will be able to get you help. That's a really good tip. I like that.
I agree
Thank
100%.
you.
That was a
I'm
great
sorry.
tip. No, that was a great tip. Like I never even thought of a code word. Like amazing.
You know, it's real important because being in that situation, unconsciously, it had me responding. I literally woke up one morning thinking that I was in my dream. In my dream, I was in my kitchen about to do something to this man for hurting me. But when I woke up, it wasn't a dream. I was really in my kitchen with a knife in my hand. So like that code word ain't just for you, it's to save their ass too. Excuse my language. But things get really critical. You know, they used to have a saying that say the worst person to go up against is somebody that's scared of you. Because when they scared, they'll do anything when they back against the wall. So that code word is really for everybody's safety. Because if you in a mode trying to protect yourself and they don't back up, ain't no telling what could happen.
All righty. Is she still talking?
No, it's just getting caught up.
Oh, I wasn't sure. Okay, you guys. Final question. I'm gonna do it at one question to one, two questions to one. I want you guys to give a survivor one resource for those watching, and I want you to tell me about your business. How can my roommates find you? What you do? So I hope my question makes sense. One tip, not one tip, but one resource, and about your business, if you have a business or a nonprofit.
Well, I'll go. I'm basic with the tips. I just 1-800 domestic violence hotline number. I just Google it because I don't know nobody else that's 100% 24/7 outside of them. You know, we got a lot of personal organizations that have great resources, but they not all open 24 hours of the day when you like might be in a jam and you might be on the street with nowhere to go. And this 1-800 people gonna send somebody to the closest police station or wherever you're at. Some of these organizations might be closed at 2 a.m. So I would definitely say go there. I'm the owner and founder of the AIM Agency. We're a creative agency that focuses on brand development and lead generation strategies. We take our clients from idea to brand, brand to business, business to elevation and profit, pretty much meeting you where you are to help you achieve your next level business goals. So if you're in need of any type of assistance to figure out what's next for you and your business, I would love for you to reach out, and you can find me at linktree.com/ask Miss Logan. That's ASKMSLOGAN everywhere. MaxMissLogan.com on every social media platform. And thank you, Crystal, for having me and my ladies. I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you. And the national hotline number, you guys, is at the bottom of the screen. Anybody watching is at the bottom of the screen. So it's right there, you guys. Miss Precious, tell us one resource and about your business.
So the one resource I know and I've actually utilized and it's like embedded in my head is House of Roof. House of Roof, House of Roof, House of Roof. They are open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. The experience I've had, and it was minimal, but the experience I had with that agency was really, really great experience. And like you guys were mentioning earlier, they definitely protect your privacy. And That's just a good place to start if you need any kind of assistance dealing with domestic violence. And in my business, which one? So I am Precious Stevens. I am CEO at the Posh Academy. And at the Posh Academy, we pretty much teach event creatives, that's event designers, event industry professionals, how to take that game to the next level and attract higher paying clients with premium draping. Now, when you like, what is premium draping? That is when you go to celebratory events and you walk in and you just see this elegant draping, like, oh my gosh, 9 times out of 10, I taught them. But that is what we do at the Posh Academy. I also help creative entrepreneurs build passive income through digital products, meaning create a course. If you want to get started or looking to get started, you can just sign up on my website, download my free guide. It's a 28-point business checklist for those that have businesses to find out where the bottlenecks are. Like, why it's not as successful as you would like it to be. And that's pretty much how to get started with any business that I have.
And her information is at the bottom of the screen, you guys. If you need it, screenshot it or write it down. Val, do you have a business or do you have a nonprofit or at least one resource?
My resource is a little bit outside the box, and it's only because of the people that I've connected with. But if you know of anyone in your area that helps with trafficking, they will help with domestic as well. So if you are in a situation where you can't verbalize or you can't let somebody know, obviously, what you're trying to do, if you get into a bind and you need a cover, you can use that, because I know people that have used that as an avenue to get out because they do have resources within. So if there's an agency or somebody that you know that's involved with the sex trafficking and battling that, they do have resources available to you too. I teach financial literacy. I teach people how to make and save more money. My goal is to help, especially Black and Brown communities, have different conversations about money so that they can create new habits in their families, so that we can break generational curses on more than one level. I believe that we have to build that trust in the industry. So I wanted to make sure that there was a face that looked like mine in the industry so that people would feel comfortable having those conversations. There is a deep-rooted distrust with financial institutions and the financial industry altogether with the Black and Brown communities, and there's reasons for that. So I'm trying to get to a place where I can have real conversations with people to get to the root of that within themselves and in their families so that we can create new conversations. We have the same buying power. We have the same intelligence. We have the same everything. We just have to do different things if we want different results. And I want to see us thrive and win in that industry, because money isn't everything, but it's kind of like air. You need a little bit of it to survive. And in order to make things happen, in order to create resources for ourselves, our families, and for other people, we have to have a little bit so we can give a little bit more. So that's what I want to do. That's what I do. So if anybody wants to get a hold of me, I have a personal website. I am partnered with Primerica, but the financial literacy part is something that I do on my own. So I teach anybody from individuals up to small businesses, and I go into schools as well and teach kids, and all the way up to college students. And my Instagram is there as well if you want to get a hold of me. And I think that's it.
Denver Boss Up. One resource and about your nonprofit, because I feel like you have a nonprofit or your business.
One resource I would say is definitely going to be any of your domestic violence shelters. They actually, a lot of them are 24 hours. They have 24-hour hotlines. So any of your domestic violence shelters would be definitely a great resource, because they also not only help with like the place to go, but they can help with resources. You may not need a place to go. You may just need resources. So I would say for one, they would be a good one. And then a little bit about what I have going on. I am an entrepreneur. I'm still actually punching the clock though, too. But I do poems. I kind of also do hosting events, children events, parties, things of that sort. You can find me on all platforms under Denver Boston Up. I do have clothing, lingerie, and what else do we have? That is under Black Family Entertainment, but it's Denver Boston Up on all platforms.
Okay. Coach Lee, one resource and about your business. I already put your information up on my screen.
Oh, thank you so much. So actually on the resource, I think, for me, I would agree with the other ladies that have talked about the domestic violence shelters that are in your local community, reaching out to the National Domestic Violence Hotline to understand what options are available to you if you can't find a local resource, or, to help you out in maybe the shelters in your local area. I didn't use the services only because of, the availability of the options to me while I was in the military. And so I would say if you are in the military and you are experiencing domestic violence, I would absolutely let you know that there are resources on base, whether you go to the chaplain on base or whether you go to, I can't even remember the name of it now, but it's kind of like the social community support on base, where you can let them know what you're going through and they will find you resources, because there was counseling available to me after I actually used my voice and spoke up about what was happening to me. So if you are in the military, those resources are available to you. So my business is Alexidom Coaching, and I help women to gain the courage to finally say what they are thinking and what's on their mind, using the power and strength of their voice so they can create the type of life that they want on their own terms, and they can live without guilt or apology. So I am all about confidence and leadership coaching for aspiring women leaders, small business owners who are just starting out, who may not have the confidence in themselves to understand how to take that next step, how to progress to the next level in their career, how to start their business. Maybe they're afraid, they're holding themselves back through fear. They aren't sure what is that next step. And so I help with that process and coach them through it, so they can start living life on their own terms.
I think that is amazing. You guys had one question. I just want to make sure I got through all your resources. Anybody can ask this question. How do you know you're ready to be in a relationship again? Or how was your initial process of the new relationship? Is at the bottom of the screen if I read it too fast.
Yeah, just so I'll answer that one if y'all don't mind. I'll start. For me, I don't know if I knew that I was ready. I don't know if there was a conscious decision made that I was ready for a new relationship. But what I did know is that I was tired of living life in the past, that I was tired of letting my ex-husband dictate how I was going to live and how I was going to have my future. And I was holding myself back a lot from even talking to the opposite sex, anyone that I was attracted to, because I looked at every single person as a potential abuser. That was me. I was like, I'm not talking to you. I don't know what you're capable of. Right. And so it was really some self-reflection in myself that, okay, either I have a choice to make. Either I'm going to continue to be by myself, which was completely and totally okay. You do not need a man to complete you, as we all know. Okay. But I had a choice to make on whether or not I was going to be by myself and be happy doing that, or if I was going to open myself up to a relationship. And I decided I needed to start somewhere. So I started small. And let me just tell you, I gave my husband, I dated a couple, right. But when I met my husband, he was like a safe space. Like as soon as I met him, there was a level of peace that came over me when he talked to me, when I was in his presence. I never felt threatened. I never felt that I needed to be on guard. And so maybe, you know, whether it was my soul speaking to his soul or his, you know, whatever it may be, not once ever when I was in his presence did I ever feel that I needed to be on guard. And that allowed me to begin to relax. And so I don't know if that, you know, it's not for me, it wasn't a science. It wasn't a conscious decision per se that, okay, I'm going to find the person I'm going to marry. But it was more, I'm not going to let my ex-husband and what happened to me prevent me from living the life the way I want to live it.
Okay. Did anybody else want to answer that question? I saw it popped up and I wanted to at least get to it.
I think she answered it perfectly.
All
I also think that that doesn't necessarily look the same for everyone, because I think that sometimes you can actually feel that you're ready for a new relationship, and then you can go into it fully with the mindset of being ready, but then something happens that triggers you into going right back into that space of feeling like, oh, I'm not ready yet, because I must not be healed because this made me feel this way. I encourage you to not be afraid to continue to move forward, even when that happens, because the truth of the matter is people will say that you're healed, but you're always healing. It's no such thing as one day it's just gone and it's like it never happened. You're going to always know these things happen. You experience them. You really did feel them. And if something goes on in life that is a clear reminder of something like that, yes, you may be triggered or reminded. And when I say triggered doesn't mean you got to act crazy and, you know, start crying or be belligerent or be angry. It can clearly just simply be like, almost like a red flag, like a light bulb comes on that reminds you of that thing. But it's up to you to check yourself in that moment to say, am I experiencing this because this is the same as before? Or am I experiencing this because this is similar to something I dealt with, but I am not in danger. I am okay. And it's okay to feel this, understand it, and move forward.
That was a great answer. And I don't think we need any more answers. Ms. Precious, do you think we need any more answers? I think those two did a great job.
Yeah, they're pretty good. Thorough.
Yep, I agree. I think you guys did a great job. I hope you guys answered the roommates' questions. And you guys, like, if you're going through a domestic violence situation, I want you guys to make a plan, get out, and get that support system. It don't matter who it is. It can be a neighbor. It can be a stranger. It don't matter. Find somebody who understands and get out. But I want to say thank you, ladies, for being on my platform. I really appreciate it. It was super hard to find women to interview about this topic and men. And I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you. And thank you for staying doing the technical difficulties, because it was terrible in the beginning. But once we got rolling, it got perfect. So thank you guys so much. I hope I can support all you guys. You guys, most of the ladies on the stage are authors. So I'm going to drop all their books in the link in the comments when I get all their links. If you guys want to buy their books, I highly recommend. I'm your host, Crystal J, and all my guests, you guys can say your name.
I'm Antoinette Logan, also known as Ask Miss Logan. You can ask me anything.
Precious Stevens, also known as the Draping Queen.
I'm Valeria Jordan. I go by Val because people can't say my name right. But I'm the money lady.
And I am Denver Boston Up, and I go by Denver Boston Up. I am the person to put a smile on your face. That is me.
All right, everyone. I am Coach Lee Mariano. I am the confidence queen. So very nice to be here. And it was so amazing being on this panel with you ladies.
No,
Yes,
thank you.
definitely.
I'm trying to contact Miss Precious, Coach Lee. I gotta talk to y'all. Miss Logan, I got your information. I got to talk to y'all too for different reasons. I can't wait. But anyway, you guys, thank you guys. You guys have a great night. Enjoy your Monday.
Thank you, Crystal, for
Bye.
having me. Bye.